5 men climbed Lynx, 10,471 feet, a difficult ascent. Titcana, 9,283 feet, was also climbed, as was also Gendarme, 9,586 feet. Trips on Mural and Coleman glaciers provided variety in the sightings of wild game and the finding of fossils. The ice caves on Robson Glacier were also noteworthy, especially one of them at whose far end a tremendous waterfall gushed forth. Reflecting the tint of the cerulean blue from the ice cave itself, this waterfall was a sight worth seeing. The trip which seemed most popular was the famous one to Moose Pass, reputed to be the loveliest spot the country round. Early on the outing, it had been discovered that the trail to Moose Pass was impossible on foot, and the 10 or 12 horses which had been brought along on the remote possibility that a mountaineer would consider riding were immediately at a premium. They were booked for days in advance, and every morning the whole camp proceeded to the corral to watch the riders of the day start forth. Despite the hazards of the horse and the pertinent after effects of riding 20 miles in a stock saddle on one day, Moose Pass was more than worth the price. There, in a meadow of wildflowers, surrounded by range after range of snowy peaks, the riders reveled in sheer beauty. On several trips, caribou and other wild game were seen. By the end of the outing, through the careful planning of the committee, the major portion of the crowd had been able to get to Moose Pass on horseback. And then there were those odd moments in camp when baseball rivaled mountain climbing popularity, when pitching horseshoes proved a pleasant diversion, and when playing Crack the Whip on the shore of Lake Adolphus was found a most effective method of beginning one's afternoon plunge. In the evening round the campfire, entertainment was usually varied. Songs, stories, and a recounting of the day's trips were usually a part of the program. One particularly interesting talk on the birds around camp was given by Mr. Bidwell of Portland, Oregon. The geological background of the region was described by Mr. Flagler, the geologist of the outing. A glance around the fire after the goodnight song had been sung showed that camp was far from settled for the night. Here, a group was pointing out its favorite constellations in the starry sky, or watching the waves of northern lights which were often visible. There, a handful were making plans for the next day's trip. A third group was still harmonizing on favorite tunes, while from the teepees the crackle of the bonfires sounded cheerfully. The week in permanent camp seemed all too short, and the day of descent was soon at hand. Down came teepees, the dunnage was packed, and as we started down the valley, only the barren flagpoles and the smoke from the last fires were left to tell the tale of the past week. A day's march brought us back to the Kinney Lake camp, where we again spent the night. The next day found us at the ranch once more, and the following morning we set out for the railroad station, bade goodbye to Mr. and Mrs. Dennison, Mr. Britton, and the packers who had done us such valiant service, and greeted once more our cherished colonist cars. We traveled deluxe this time, however, for we had real mattresses. Dusty, dirty, but jubilant in spirit, we reached Seattle the next afternoon. It had been an unforgettable summer outing, captained by the best of leaders and enjoyed by one and all. What cared we if we were sunburned? We were, as few outings before had been. What cared we if we were dirty? We were, as few outings not made via the colonist car had been. We had tasted the joys of good fellowship. We had seen nature at its finest. We had gone on the 1927 Robson outing, and we had found it good.
I hope you've enjoyed this special 4-part series and will join us again. Special thanks to Lowell Skoog at the Mountaineers. Perhaps the descendants of these Mountaineers will recognize a family member. Please let us know what you think in the comments section, and feel free to add more information or corrections. And if you really enjoyed it, subscribe to help support this channel. See you next time on Real Life.